Hi, this is Danny Lewis, Steinberg certified trainer, and this is a new series, and it's called Minitaur versus Retrologue. And basically, the Minitaur here, I got hold of it thanks to Point Blank. It was my leaving gift. Big thanks, guys, and it's an amazing little analog synthesizer. I wanted to compare it to Retrologue because Retrologue is wicked. Do you know what I mean? I really like it. It's a new addition to 6.5. You saw my kind of initial thoughts video a little while back. And so here I've got the manual, and this is the Minitaur patch. Basically, this is a classic Moog bass, and it's just kind of dimmed the lighting there. Let me just get this refocused and get the exposure sorted so you can see some parameters here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build this patch, and I'm going to make it on the Minitaur, and then I'm going to do something similar with the Retrologue. So what we've got is the Apache SX. And this is a great arpeggiator that can play back MIDI sequences. There's a bass line that's very reminiscent of Michael Jackson's Thriller. And so I'm going to have that triggering the Minitaur. And I'm going to make something on this similar to the classic Moog bass. You know, like we can see here. The Moog was used apparently on the Thriller album. And so let's see what kind of a vibe we're going to get. So as it is at the moment, let's have a listen. And on Cubase, I'll bring up the Apache SX, and you can see here that this is Pop Sequence 1, and it's a really good arpeggiator. You can drop in MIDI files and stuff like that on it to create these sequenced riffs. So the Minitaur, let's get this set up. So the settings here, I'm not going to be able to keep coming back to this. I'm going to focus on the Minitaur, and I'm just going to read these in myself, and I'm going to dial in. Bring this filter cutoff frequency down. The resonance at the moment is set too high. Let's bring this down. Let's take the envelope amount up. And what about the envelope settings? Well, let's take this parameter shorter. Let's take, that's, by the way, that's the filter envelope sustain amount. Let's take this down here, the decay. Take the attack fast, and now with the volume envelope, this is pretty much as it should be actually. So the sustain level max, let's just get my iPad back on here, just went to power save mode. Decay's about right, attack. The LFOs are not being used. Now let's just adjust the level of these oscillators. Okay, well that's how it should be. To be honest with you, I'm not really vibing that much on that. I'm going to experiment a bit actually. Let's take the VCO OS2 down. And in fact, I'm running with one ear on my earphones. Let's bring that VCO2 up. Just going to take this and take this down. There we go. A bit more growly. So I'm going to show you. That's kind of the sub layer. Let's bring up oscillator 1. Os2. Just going to get the balance about right. Maybe VCO2 a little bit too loud. Actually, I want to experiment a bit. Bring that sustain down. I'm actually still finding my way around this Minitaur, by the way. Yeah, that feels really low. That square does sound really nice actually. You can see that I'm totally veering away from the original idea to copy the patch. But this is great to have a play around with. So I'm running with VCO1. Nice warm square bass. Bring that sustain level down again. Take the decay out just a little bit. So that's a patch I like the sound of. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and copy that on the Retrologue. So I'll do that in the next section. Okay, so that we've got a reference point, what I've done is I've recorded the audio, so you can see the waveform here. This is the Minitaur recording. Let's take a listen to that soloed. Now the MIDI data here, I'm going to rename, I'm just going to call it Retrologue MIDI. Shift plus enter so that I can name the actual MIDI part the same as well. I now need to basically connect this to an instance of the Retrologue. So I'm using the instrument rack, and I'm going to come down here and we're going to come to Steinberg Synth, and we're going to come down to Retrologue. There we go. Now this is going to load up. I'm not going to create a MIDI track. Let me just take this away for the moment. So my original MIDI track, instead of the Minitaur, is now going to go to the Retrologue. Let's solo this. Let's take the Minitaur off and let's have a listen. So I've got a bit of work to do, and I'm going to basically bring up the instrument. Now, the thing to consider about the Minitaur is that it's monophonic. Okay, so let's switch this straight away to mono. It's also got two oscillators, and if you remember, what I did was that I set it so that really I only had one, because I reduced the volume of VCO2, which is an oscillator 2. So we can stick with this. I'm going to take the octave down though. Maybe not that low. Let me just take it back up here again. That might be alright. Once we switch the wave over, let's go to the square wave. Now the pulse width isn't correct, it's too small. We need to take this to 50% to give us a square wave. Just get that precise. There we go. Okay, that's not bad. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a listen to the audio. Okay, so the octave sounds right. There's a fair amount of work to do here. Let's take a look. Now, we can hear the sound is bright. We want to make it warmer, so the obvious thing to do would be to bring the cutoff down. Let's see how this feels if I bring this down here. Too much? Now, I'm taking note of where my filter cutoff is on the Minitaur, and it's actually just below the 320, so it's maybe about here. Now, we also used the envelope amount, so I'm going to take this up. Another thing just before I go any further is that I'm going to set this up so we've got similar settings for the filter envelope. So this is a filter envelope over here. Now on my filter envelope, if you rewind the video, you'll see that it was set with the sustain level low. And what I'll do is on this video is I'll cut some video from the Minitaur from before in here so you can see it as a reference point. So you'll be able to see that now. So my decay time was reasonably long. There are no actual times on the Minitaur. Okay, so let's see how that feels now. It's sounding good. Let's take a look at the amp. Let's take sustain level down. That's working quite nicely. Let's get a little reference point now. Now we can hear that the resonance is lacking here on the Retrologue, so let's bring this up. Just going to open the cutoff a bit, take the envelope amount a bit higher. Let's have a listen now. They are sounding pretty close. Let me take the resonance down here. Let's switch back. Now, we're really close, but what I'm hearing is some legato stuff going on. So the envelope basically isn't being re-triggered on this Minitaur. So I'm still finding my way around this Retrologue. I need to take a look here, and let's have a look at trigger mode. Let's go to legato. There we go. So we have ended up with something similar. Let's compare. Come back onto Retrologue. Just a little bit too much resonance. Maybe slightly less on the envelope amount. That's sounding great. Back onto the Minitaur. Very similar character. Let's just take the resonance just up a little bit more here. Maybe it's a cutoff value. Opening this just a little bit more. And then back again. Yeah, do you know what? I think we're really close. And it just goes to show how great the analog kind of vibe of this Retrologue is. Sure, they're not identical, and you guys might want to listen and compare. If you rewind, you have a listen again. But I actually feel this is a really nice analog sound coming from this Retrologue. So that was a little comparison there. I'll have a think about another sound to create on another video so you can make your mind up even further. But yeah, this is proving to be a really, really good addition to Cubase.